These lights don't exist. They are literally not there. And you can see with the press of a button, I'm turning them on and off. If you want to learn how to easily make any video background more interesting, then you're watching the right video. I'm going to show you how you can add your own lighting to your video using CapCut. So if you're thinking about spending hundreds of dollars on LED lighting, you might want to watch this video first. Real lights are expensive, they can break, you need to find a place to set them up, and then you have to move them around if you want to shoot in different locations, which takes time. In CapCut, you can create colourful or more subtle effects to make a plain or otherwise boring background a little more interesting. And this might particularly appeal to gamers, storytellers, or people just wanting to add a little extra to their videos. In CapCut, you can play around with the lighting effects for free. It's only if you want to export the video that you're going to need a pro subscription. Okay, so let me show you how to relight a video. So go into CapCut and create a new project and import some video files in. I've already done this, so I won't bore you with watching me do that step. And then you drag a video file onto the timeline. And you hold down Alt and then left click, you can drag a copy onto a separate track. What we're going to do is we're just going to click on this little eye icon here to hide it. And what we can do is, for now, we can just drag it out of the way, okay? And then we hide it. Now, there are some other ways to do this where you remove the background and then you can do more changes to the background. But I've found that CapCut's background removal tool is not ideal. And what it normally does is it leaves weird sort of chunks of you missing from time to time, especially when you're moving around. So you'll suddenly get part of your head cut out or part of your ear. So I don't recommend the background removal tool in its current state unless you're only going to use it for still photos, for example. But for video, it hasn't been great in my experience. But you don't need that to create this effect. So let's have a look at how we do this. So I'm going to work on the original video. So let's just drag that and create a new copy. The first thing we're going to do is go up to Adjust. And then we're going to click on Curves. This can get you a more cinematic look for the scene. You can see my scene is fairly bright here. So I'm going to change the overall feel of it by clicking on this Luma setting, creating an anchor point, and I'm just going to drag it down slightly. And you can see if I drag it down, it adds basically shadow. So there's about the way the original was, and there is a slightly more cinematic version, okay? So if you want to see what it looked like with and without, you just click All. That's without, and that's with. Just drag it up a little bit more. There we go. It's added a subtle effect. You can also do the same thing up at the highs here if you want to. And we can check it. I think that one was good as it was, so I'm just going to leave it roughly where it was. Happy enough with that. Let's move on. Now we go back to video and go to Retouch. And we're going to select Skin. And here you can smooth out your skin. I'll give it a really drastic effect so you can see. It looks really weird. But you can just add a little bit if you want from this to say this. However you want to do it. You can also whiten your teeth, clear up blemishes and all sorts of other stuff. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to leave it how it is. But if you want to play around with these, you can. You can also adjust your skin tone and all kinds of stuff. There we go. Now we go back to basic, and then we scroll down and we click Relight. I've already got things set up, but you will have none. So you want to select this one here, teal backlight, and you need to wait for it to process. Now you want to scroll down a little bit, and you want to select light 1, and then choose a color. I'll change the color now so we can have something different. You want to select type to point and object to background. Now you can play around with the positioning of the lights to create the type of effect that you want. I'm going for a subtle look, so I'll just drag it up a little bit just to go onto the wall there, but not too much that it goes right up the top here. And I think that also doesn't fit in with how the face is lit. Now you can adjust all kinds of things here, the intensity, for example, how strong the light is. You can have the radius, which will go either smaller or larger area that it will cover. And you can adjust the distance from the subject as well. So there's almost nothing. There's a really bright light down in the corner, and then we can drag it out so it's much more subtle. I think something like that looks okay. You can mess with the highlights, the brightness, and everything here. I'm just going to leave it slightly darker. Now we're going to select the second light. Again, we can change the color. But first we want to select the point and background. And now I'm going to change this to some crazy color. There we go. And that's a little bit bright, so I'll bring that down a little bit. We take the radius down slightly as well. And we can drag around to position it how we want it. I think up the top there is good enough. We can mess with all the other settings, brightness and highlights, etc. And once you've got the desired effect, you can play back your video and see how it looks. Okay. If you see any strange effects when you play back your video, sometimes depending on the scene, the colors, your clothing, your skin, you might see a little flickering. And this can be dealt with by changing the light settings, things like distance and radius, to move the lights a little further away from the problem area. So for example, if I had a problem with the green, I would go back to light 1 and I would start to adjust these settings here to just tone them down so that the distance and stuff doesn't create such a glow on my head. There we go. For example, like this maybe. Bring the intensity up a little bit to blend it in. There we go. So you can adjust your different settings depending on how you feel it looks. Now, if you're always recording in the same area and you want a consistent look, you might want to think about things like the clothing you're wearing or the background that you're filming against and see how it looks on different backgrounds. I'm going to show you another one in a moment as well. So this is a light colored background. I can show you a dark colored background that I prepared earlier. So here is the original. You can see this is how it was naturally lit. And if I turn these two on, we have a stronger colored look, orange and pink. I'll just flick between them a little bit so you can see. And then we also have a more subtle green and orange effect. So you can see this works on any kind of background with any kind of clothing. I've got completely different. I have a light colored t-shirt and a light colored background. And then in this example, you can see I've got a dark background and a dark t-shirt. So you can see this works on any type of colors, any type of background that you like. Now, if you click on your file again, if you want to, of course, you can add more lights. I have a third light here, which is a sort of light that shines on the face. And you can see if I turn the brightness of that up, how that works. And you can make that to point and on people. And you can just adjust this how you like it. You can see it adds highlights to my t-shirt there. Or takes them away. So you can play around and light your face more if you want to. And here you can see the original again, and you can see a relight that I did. I think those colours are quite good for this scene. And that's how to relight a scene in CapCut. If you want to see more about CapCut and learn more about its features and how to use it, click on this video up here. Thanks guys, take care, see you in the next one.